It happened again. A bunch of thugs who were allowed to wear badges and call themselves police officers. They surrounded a young black man. They beat him. They used a taser on him. And then he died. Who am I talking about? Am I talking about Keenan Anderson? Am I talking about Tyree Nichols? Did we find out about another lynching this week? We made a deal with the devil. We were told that in order to keep all this going, we had to let people who wear badges make a sport out of abusing people with dark skin. There's no way the system works unless we let that happen. Can't measure the instances of this. Can't have a federal database. Can't ever prevent people from becoming cops. Can't ever hold cops responsible. Or all this can't go on. Damn it. Doesn't deserve to go on, if that's true. But let's look at this deal. What did we get? Because I've been hearing these nonsense arguments my whole damn life. What did we get? We got a shrinking middle class. Every year, American workers produce more and take a smaller percentage of that home with them. Wages do not keep up with inflation. They just don't. But it wouldn't matter if we had free college instead of the situation we are currently in where we are drowning in a tide of student debt. It wouldn't matter if we had free health care instead of medical debt being a major concern for any household that is not wealthy. Wouldn't matter if our roads were perfect. It would not be worth the lives of our fellow Americans. It just wouldn't. What do we have to see before we decide we've had enough of this? Do they have to kill Rosa Parks? How blatant of an example do we need before we decide that there is something fundamentally wrong with how we do policing in this country? How innocent does a person need to be? Do they need to be asleep and just get executed out of nowhere? It already happened. Her name was Breonna Taylor. She was a nurse. She was asleep in her bed when police barged in and shot her to death. It already happened. And God damn us, it's happened again and again. And it will keep happening. We're not on a trajectory to fix this. It's not getting better. If we are supposed to stand united, then stand united. Get on social media. Look at the hashtag Black Lives Matter. In fact, Google Black Lives Matter and your state. There will be marches. If there are not, then God damn us. We're worse off than I thought. You start one. Join the march. If you're a black American, obviously it is in your interest to be there. If you simply do not want to live in a state, to live in a country where it is permitted for police to kill citizens for sport, it's in your interest to be there. But it's in the interest, above all, of decency for you to be there. We will carry the shame of this era for the rest of our lives. Why? Because it's your fault and it's my fault as well. We bear some of the responsibility for this. Why were those police allowed to stop that man in the first place? Which one am I talking about? Any. All. Why were they allowed? Because they had a badge. Because they were acting in our name. Those killings happened in your name. And mine. Are you comfortable with this? I'm not. There already were notable, huge marches. I don't care, go out anyway. Right now, in the immediate future, what you need to do is show lawmakers that there is massive support for justice in America. That's step one. That is your immediate concern. Attend to it. Black Lives Matter and your state. Enter it in to a search engine. Sign up for whatever you need to sign up for. I will have links in the description to make it easier. Attend the marches. Step two, we need to focus our efforts. This will involve contacting your representative, certainly. Do it. If you don't do it, you bear more of the responsibility. We need a federal database of police officers. I don't care if you are a small town sheriff's deputy in charge of about 10 blocks and that's it. I don't care. Federal database. Because if you get fired as a cop, you can't get a job as a cop again. If you're fired for certain violations, that must end your ability to enforce the law. If it's been demonstrated in one department that you chose to enforce the law differently for one group of citizens versus another demographic, that should disqualify you from being a law enforcement officer anywhere. Right now, since 2006, about 23% of cops who get fired for such behavior, for false imprisonment, for harassing people of a certain race, about 23% of them get rehired elsewhere, and we have these same problems. So, federal database. Politically, that is on our list. In fact, that's the top of the list. In fact, that's the only item to worry about. Start there. So we're not recycling bad cops like Catholic priests moving from church to church. No more. No more secrecy. Federal database. When you are at these marches, you are going to march as though Martin Luther King were organizing it. That means I don't want to hear you go out there saying, ACAB, ACAB. You keep that to your GD self. Don't ruin the actual march with performative nonsense. You are there to show solidarity, that is it. You are not there to drag other people into a fight that is fruitless. I want you to put on a shirt and tie if you're a gentleman. Put on your Sunday best, whatever your gender is. Make it difficult for people to see you as just some crazy lefty. If you are a cop, and you're one of the good ones, and let me tell you, there are good ones. I don't want to hear this nonsense that all cops are this or that. That's ridiculous. I happen to know cops. If you are a cop that considers yourself on the side of justice, you better be out there protesting too. You better make your presence known on the side of Black Lives Matter, because the one thing that must be made clear in these protests, that will be made clear in these protests, is that Black Lives Matter. If you're a decent cop and you get as mad as me when you hear about one of these crooks, one of these criminals that got a hold of a badge and was allowed to hold on to it, if, like me, you think these people make a mockery of good cops, if these people are an insult to good cops, good. Be there in the march. It is us versus them. It is absolutely us versus them. And plenty of cops can be on the side of us. Plenty of cops are part of us. Join the march. You have an obligation to decency just like the rest of us. If you're an ally, you need to make yourself known. If you are a trans person, and you sure do appreciate it when allies show up to march for your rights, you need to make yourself known. If you are a gay person, and you sure do appreciate it when other allies show up to stand up for your rights, you need to make yourself known. If you're a Jew and you appreciate it when people show up to keep people from attacking you, you need to make yourself known. If you're a Muslim, make yourself known. If you're a straight white Christian and you simply do not appreciate the abuse of your fellow Americans, the murders of your fellow Americans, you need to show up and make yourself known. This is decency versus savagery. Pick your side and fight for it. Google Black Lives Matter and your state. Sign up for the march and begin focusing your efforts thereafter on a federal database for police officers. Enough of this nonsense.